And welcome back to Washington Commanders Insider. Today, we're talking about if the NFC East is finally within reach for the Washington Commanders. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to hit that subscribe button, just like Jayden Daniels is going to be hitting Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, Zach Ertz, and many others for multiple touchdowns in this upcoming season. And so in exchange for hitting that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Washington Commanders. Make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Washington Commanders Insider family as we talk nothing but Washington Commanders football. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it. We're talking about the Washington Commanders being on the rise. And is the NFC East title finally within reach? And so if you go over to ESPN.com, this is something that was written a couple days ago by Dan Graziano. He is an NFL insider there on ESPN, and he's talking about a couple different situations, and he's talking about if they're overreactions or not. And so within this article, one of the things that he writes about is the possibility of the Washington Commanders going ahead and winning the NFC East. And so he's saying that, is it their turn to win the NFC East? And so just paraphrasing this, he does talk about the fact that the Commanders finished well over their last 5 games, how they made it to the playoffs via the wild card, and how they upset the Buccaneers and the Lions to advance to the NFC Championship game with their record of 12-5. They were only 2 games back behind the Philadelphia Eagles. They went ahead and made some trades here for Laramie Tunsil and Deebo Samuel to go ahead and maximize Jayden Daniels and his rookie contract window. Next, he talks about the Eagles and how they're going to open as division favorites, but no team has repeated, and that the Commanders have their sights set on bigger things in 2025, and they do, hopefully the Super Bowl. And so with that being said, moving into if it's an overreaction, and he feels like that it is not an overreaction. He feels like that this can be the year that the Commanders can go ahead and win the NFC East. And so again, just continuing to paraphrase here, but he talks about Dan Quinn and how he had success with the Falcons and leading them to the Super Bowl in his second season. He talks about the composure here of Jayden Daniels, mainly in the fourth quarter, stepping up in huge games there. And he talks about just having championship season veterans in Bobby Wagner and Zach Ertz. And then also, too, you have Marshawn Lattimore, who is a seasoned vet who came over via the trade deadline here. And then, he talks about the fact that it's going to be tough for the Eagles to go out here and repeat as champions. He talks about the Cowboys now getting Dak Prescott back healthy. And lastly, he feels like the Commanders can take another leap and finish on top of the East. All right. And so just going back to a couple of points here that is mentioned. And so starting with Dan Quinn, and, mixing this in with the veteran experience for the Washington Commanders, I think that this is really an X factor that I think a lot of people are probably not looking at. The fact that, yes, Dan Quinn has been there as a head coach. I think that mainly we forget this because he's been doing the defensive coordinator thing here with the Dallas Cowboys before he came to the Washington Commanders. But you're talking about a guy that, yes, in his second season, he was able to take the Atlanta Falcons, to the Super Bowl. They almost won that game. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But hopefully that same type of luck really rubs off here on the Washington Commanders. And what I think I love about that is that because Dan Quinn has been there, you get a younger quarterback in Jayden Daniels, preparing him for what it takes to get there in year 2 after, having some success in year 1. I think that this is certainly going to help the Commanders' efforts to be on top of this division. And more importantly, it does help them for the bigger goal, which is winning the Super Bowl. I mean, I think that that's the bottom line. Yes, you want to win the division. It is a part of the NFL season, but if you can end up winning the title, that's what it's all about ultimately. So I love the fact that we mentioned Dan Quinn because I do think that that is going to be an X factor because he's been there. Next, when you talk about the seasoned veterans, and so, we've added to that. And so you have Bobby Wagner, you have Jonathan Jones, who's also been in the Super Bowl. He's been a Super Bowl champion. You have Dietrich Wise Jr. You also, we just talked about Von Miller, so him too as well. And so there's several different pieces on this defense and on this team where they've been in Super Bowls. And so I love that for the Commanders. And I just love the fact that you love how this team is built because it has a great mix of veterans that have been there and that still have something left. And then you also have a team that's getting a little bit younger and it's also trending in the right direction there. And some guys that had to step up big in their rookie season. We know what Jayden Daniels had to do. We obviously know what Mikey Samra still had to do, Brandon Coleman. And so I like the fact that we have a nice mix here, but make no mistake about it. Yes, because these veterans have been there, this is going to give you some experience that you need to push through to, not only win a division title, but hopefully win a Super Bowl. And then next, when you start to take a look here at Jayden Daniels and the X factor there, Jayden Daniels really operates as if he's been in the league for 4 or 5 seasons, which has been incredible, to see. And it's just great to see that we actually have a franchise quarterback. And what I love about what Adam Peters has done is just the additions that he's gone out there and gotten, because not just adding players that can go out there and score points for us, but the fact that you've gone out and you've added some pieces around him that are going to protect him. I love that forward thinking from Adam Peters. And I just love the fact that we have set this team up to just progress from last year's success. And so when you look at this from a totality thing, I think that the biggest thing for the Washington Commanders and really winning this division, for me, it's going to be on defense, stopping the run. Can you stop the run? Because I do think that if you can do that and you can get teams to go into pass mode here, I do feel like that the secondary is going to be able to turn the football over this season. I think that that is something that Coach Joe Wood Jr. is going to want from this defense. And I think that he has really all the players to do so in this type of scheme. And then next, when you look at the offense and the way that it's set up, I just wonder, is this going to be the offense that is going to go out there and just simply try to win games just by outscoring teams? Obviously, you have to outscore teams, but more so outscore teams in like a shootout type of fashion, because I think that the Commanders are set to do that if it comes down to it. And I think that really what happens now is that when you look at the Commanders last season and they didn't punt a lot, like I think that you could see that again translating to this year. And if the defense is able to get some more possessions over here to Jayden Daniels, I'm not so sure that the defense has to be a top ranked defense. I think that it maybe turns into one of these defenses where they just have to win to where they can just minimize the damage enough and just get the football more to Jayden Daniels and this offense to make plays. And that might be the difference for the Washington Commanders this year. But anyway, you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. Do you feel like that Jayden Daniels and this team is ready to go ahead and conquer the NFC East? Because I do want to throw this out there and how tough it is. Since 20 years, it's been 20 years since there's been a repeat champion in the NFC East. And the last time that there was a repeat champion, the Eagles did it 4 consecutive seasons. And so it's just been a lot of different shuffling here at the top of this division. So that just lets you know how tall an order that is. The last time the Commanders did it, 2020, 7-9 season there, the Commanders were able to win it. So I think that the Commanders are set up more than ever to win this division. But you guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking. And ultimately, like I said, bottom line, I want to see this Commanders team win the Super Bowl. So I don't even care. Just as long as they win the Super Bowl, that's all I care about. So anyway, you guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking. And as we always say, look, go Commanders, and I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.